The morning was quiet in the small suburban town, the kind of calm that lulls you into believing nothing ever goes wrong. But for one child, the weight of truth had already begun to press down. Sitting in the corner of a dimly lit living room, they told the adults around them what had happened. Words that should have triggered immediate concern, investigation, and protection. Instead, there was silence, confusion, disbelief. Some of the adults shook their heads. Some dismissed it as imagination, and others, with unease in their voices, suggested the child was misremembering. That single moment marked the beginning of a long, harrowing journey, a journey that would stretch for 12 years before the truth would finally surface. The child, barely old enough to understand the gravity of the world around them, came from an ordinary family. They were smart, observant, and quiet, yet brave enough to speak about something deeply wrong happening in their life. The person implicated was someone trusted, someone adults had reason to believe was incapable of such acts. That trust, misplaced or protected, became a wall that obscured the child's reality. Each time the child attempted to bring the events to light, questions arose. Are you sure? Did you see it clearly? Are you exaggerating? With every repeated doubt, the child's courage was met with hesitation. Their words met with skepticism, and their pleas, however earnest, were brushed aside. Over the years, the story remained in fragments, whispers at school, hurried conversations with relatives, and journal entries tucked away under pillows. Authorities were approached at different points, but procedural mistakes, jurisdictional confusion, and miscommunication left the case in limbo. Investigators often prioritize adult testimonies over a child's account, assuming memory gaps or misinterpretations. Interviews with experts on child testimony later revealed a common error. Children's statements were too often dismissed when they challenged preconceived notions of safety and trust. The child's truth, while consistent and detailed, became invisible in a system that relied heavily on adult credibility and assumed stability. The failures were not just procedural. Cultural biases played a role, too. In a town that prided itself on community image, the idea that someone within the family or close social circle could commit such an act was uncomfortable, even unthinkable. Those responsible for oversight hesitated, afraid that acknowledging the claims would tarnish reputations, cause scandal, or disrupt social order. Power dynamics, whether unspoken or explicit, created a web of inaction. Each adult decision to doubt the child, each procedural misstep, compounded the delay in uncovering the truth. Despite these obstacles, the child continued to leave breadcrumbs. School counselors noted unusual behaviors. Family members noticed subtle signs of distress. And at times the child's own notes served as quiet testimony of what had occurred. Experts later analyzed the timeline and patterns, observing that the repeated dismissal itself became a form of secondary trauma, reinforcing perception that no one would believe them. The system that was supposed to protect had instead amplified vulnerability, leaving the child isolated in their knowledge of what was real. It took 12 years for the case to be revisited in earnest. New evidence came to light, corroborating the child's original statements. Technological advancements, renewed investigative vigor, and advocacy by professionals committed to child protection converged. Authorities reopened the case, and forensic examinations aligned with the child's memories. The persistence of the survivor, now a young adult, finally met with institutional accountability. Witness testimonies, digital records, and careful review confirmed the previously disbelieved claims. Legal proceedings moved forward, holding the responsible parties accountable and acknowledging the long-delayed justice. The aftermath was profound. Families who had struggled under the weight of silence found some measure of resolution. The survivor, though scarred by years of being ignored, became a voice for advocacy, using their story to educate others on the importance of believing children. The town itself had to confront uncomfortable truths about the failures that allowed the abuse to go unaddressed for so long. Policies were reviewed, reporting protocols strengthened, and investigators were reminded of the ethical imperative to prioritize truth over assumption. Reflecting on the case, one cannot ignore the stark lesson it leaves. Truth can be silenced for years when the world refuses to listen. A child's testimony, offered with courage and clarity, should never be dismissed lightly. The cost of disbelief is measured not just in lost time, but in lives disrupted and trust fractured. And yet, Even in the darkness of systemic failure, persistence, courage, and ethical reinvestigation can bring the truth into the light, reaffirming that delayed justice, while painful, is still justice. In the quiet moments, one hears the echo of that first ignored statement, a whisper of courage, a reminder that the world must listen, and that even a single voice, no matter how small, can endure the weight of 12 years and still speak truth that cannot be denied.